Looking ahead, the fine weather will hold for the next 3 to 4 days, but there's a low pressure system building over the Atlantic, which will bring heavy rain by the end of the week.
I've got a lot on my plate over the next few days. It's time to make my hay, and for any farmer, big or small, that means nerve-shredding anxiety and neurotic weather watching. Last year, the hay was a complete washout, and I was forced to go cap in hand to my neighbours, begging and borrowing bales to feed my animals through the winter. This summer, I'm determined to get it right. And I've enlisted my old mate Paddy Rudd, local pigeon fancier and occasional farmer, for some semi-professional advice. What I'm keen to know is if you think it's absolutely ready now.
I would have cut it yesterday looking at it, but generally within a week.
That's why I called you. So it's a sunny day. We're going to have a few nice days.
Yeah.
But the forecast is good for 3 or 4 days. But does that mean on the 5th day it rains, the whole lot is stuffed?
If I were you, I should get it done because we're not going to get a better opportunity than this.
Is it possible to get hold of the gear for not too much dosh?
Yeah, the only problem is this time of year when the sun's shining, everyone's going to be out using their haymaking equipment. You experienced in tractor driving at all?
Absolutely not.
No.
If the weather holds, Paddy will be back tomorrow with the gear. But frankly, the timing could have been better. It's Bridport Farmers Market the day after tomorrow, and I need to seize the chance to cash in on my first crop of the summer. When it comes to taking vegetables to market, what I've realised is that timing is everything. It's better to have one big hit at a farmer's market when you've got loads of produce ready than to keep going back every week with dribs and drabs of your harvest. And for the gardener, that presents a real problem. Getting everything ready at the same time is pretty much guesswork. This year, I've got my broad beans absolutely spot on, but the price I've had to pay is that this pea crop has gone rather seriously over the top. So if I'm going to maximise my profits, I'm going to have to find a recipe that turns this coarse monster into something delicate, sweet and delicious. As ever, my policy is to increase my margins by adding value. So my peas, beans and beetroot will be converted in the kitchen into irresistible products for sale under the banner of the River Cottage Glutton.
Highs of 22 Celsius, fine, dry and bright for most of the day.
Right across the county, everybody's gambling on the weather and making hay while the sun shines. I can't wait to get my hands on some of these high-tech farmers' toys. I wonder what Paddy's come up with. Interesting looking vehicle, Paddy.
It is.
I mean, I'm not complaining or anything, but why is it such a mucky tractor?
It's been scraping up the muck from the
see.
dairy cows, so that's why it's a bit liberally covered. Twiddle that lower little gear lever. Twiddle the other one. Stop button.
I'm amazed that it started at all, but once Paddy's instructed me in the basic rudiments of mowing, I'm away. My little field has boggy patches, a winding river, and several inconveniently placed trees to test my tractor handling skills. But after a few circuits, I think I've got the hang of it, and my confidence is growing by the minute.
Try going very slowly forward. Right rate, so it's going like that. No! Oh, go on then.
Just getting my confidence up, and I thought I'd
You thought you'd smash into it.
No, I thought I'd just
So
give it...
that mower does stick out a bit further than you think, doesn't it? So.
Thank you. Now, was that originally in a straight line?
Yes. Just brought the guard back a bit, but that's a bit better. I think it'll be all right.
Oh, I think it was a bit bent when it came, wasn't it?
That probably was, yes.
What, old gear?
Old gear. Yeah.
Lucky it wasn't the tree, or it might have been permanent.
Put some grass off over it and no one will know any better.
There we go. Right, well, I'll calm down a bit and go at it a bit more slowly.
Yeah.
Tell me if there's anything coming up, won't you?
I will.
Without any further damage, the hay is cut. And now it's all down to the man upstairs. The weatherman, that is. It's been another hot day across the region, and tomorrow will be even better with plenty of sunshine and a maximum of 23 degrees. The weather forecast is also influencing my plans for the market store.
Last autumn, I did rather well selling hot soup on a cold, miserable, wet day. So with a blistering hot day forecast for tomorrow, the obvious logical leap is to get into the chilled soup business.
I'm making two soups, one from my over-the-top peas and another from my lovely fresh young beetroot. The peas are cooked in chicken stock with lettuce for body and sweetness, and lovage, a much underappreciated herb with a lovely spicy note. The beetroot is cooked with carrots, onions and beef stock, and just a dash of Tabasco to give it some edge. The pea soup is simmered for just 10 minutes and the beetroot takes half an hour. Then both are ready for the blender. And I'm ready for bed. Market day begins grey and cool. It had better warm up or I'm going to have a lot of cold soup on my hands.
Close one.
Personally, I've long been a fan of the chilled soup, but as fast food at breakfast time, it may take a bit of sales patter to shift it.
Tea and lovage cold soup.
Have a little taste and tell me what you think of it, because I think it's best served chilled.
Yeah, that's nice. I don't normally eat cold soup, but that is nice, yeah.
It's not curried soup, but if calling it curry soup's going to help it to sell, then curry soup it is.
I don't like that.
Oh well, it's nothing like it.
It's not
Not even close. Not even close.
Is this the bull's blood or is it borscht?
It's borscht is exactly what it is. One of these days I'm going to get round to writing it up on that blackboard.
Yes, can you spell it?
Let's do that, shall we?
It certainly starts with B. O-R-S-T-C-H.
There we go. Would you like a little bit of sour cream in the top? Would you do me a favour? Would you taste me? Taste me. Sorry, slip on tongue. Would you taste it and tell me what you think?
Delicious.
My gamble on the weather has paid off. My cold soup's selling like hot cakes.
Going to turn out to be one of the more generous portions of the day, actually. There you go.
I've taken over £200 and sold out before 11 o'clock, which is just as well, because I've got my work cut out for me back at the cottage. My hay is still a little green and damp, and it'll need to be turned twice a day if I'm going to be able to bale it before the rain comes. And at the end of another long and busy day, I've still got one small function to perform.
Ever since I came to River Cottage, I've tried to live by the smallholder's principle of waste not, want not. But only recently did I discover that even my own personal waste can be put to good use. Not in the kitchen, I hasten to add, or even in the garden, but in the manufacture of my own clothes. And in a couple of days, I should have enough to get started. Last year, I put myself and my sheep through the traumas of shearing in the hope that at least I'd get a woolly jumper out of it. But my taskmaster Braid told me that the wool of the Dorset Down was pretty much good for nothing. Is that worth hanging on to at all?
That?
Not really.
I'd say that fleece is worth about 50p, Hugh, especially with the amount of straw and stuff you've managed to get in amongst it all.
But this year, my sheep have not been fleeced merely for their own benefit. There's something in it for me too, because I've found 2 local girls who practice the traditional craft of felting, a process which can salvage even the ropiest fleeces. But first, I have to remove the lanolin by washing them in a couple of gallons of stale urine.
Ugh.
It looks nice and clean.
Well, I have rinsed
You've
it.
done a good job here, actually.
Yeah?
Yep,
Vicky and
so.
Christine asked me for a couple of fleeces in return for their help, and I felt that was a good deal.
No, we're going to brush it later.
So compared to spinning wool for knitting, the felt option is a sort of fast track that gets you a material that you can work with much quicker.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to spin it and then you're going to weave it or you're going to knit it, it takes you ages and half the time you don't finish it. But with felt, you can do it in a day.
When you're making felt, you do everything to wool that you shouldn't do. You're forcing all the fibres to bind together.
So in fact, wool abuse is the order of the day.
Yep.
We want to beat it up and give it as hard a time as possible.
Oh yeah, and the more you abuse it, the harder it gets. So
Right.
you can't lose.
I like the sound of that.
The first stage is to colour the wool, deep orange from the root of the madder plant and yellow from onion skins. And after an hour of simmering, the 2 colours are done to a turn.
Oh wow.
There we go.
I can see the egg yolk yellow that you promised. I was sceptical about it, but I can see it's nearly there.
They smell terrible.
Smelly they may be, but the dye has taken nicely. The excess liquid is gently squeezed out, and the wool is spread out to dry in the sun. Then it's time for a bit of low-tech processing on the carding machine.
You promised me that felt making was a piece of cake compared to spinning wool. I can see what's happening here, that it's stretching out all the knotty bits and fibres. That's lovely. I could wear that.
Wear it as a beard.
I could wear it as a beard. Definitely.
Oh, it's look.
I got my Dorset bands as well. Yes.
And this is where the abuse really gets underway. The design for our piece of felt is laid out from the start. The carded wool is stretched out in a large square. Yellow makes the base, and the orange goes on top in stripes.
Just the moment this just goes on top, it doesn't have to be worked in.
No, you don't do the working in until that's like the next stage, right?
Then it all gets a little bizarre and frankly rather kinky. Christine whips out her net curtain. Then Vicky hands me a kettle of boiling water and produces a bar of soap. First we work up a nice lather, then we give it a pounding with our naked feet.
This is a foot fetishist's fantasy.
Then it gets rolled up like a fat sausage in a bamboo blind. The rhythmic rolling begins. Christine keeps changing positions. And I just can't get comfortable at all.
Say when. Say when.
When?
I don't know about the felt, but that's about as much abuse as I can take in an afternoon.
So can I try it on?
Yeah, here, what are you going to do with it?
I don't know.
It's very dashing. I mean, certainly men about town.
A David Beckham skirt?
Very nice.
Fetching?
I'd have been happy with a pair of homely slippers, but Vicky and Christine are filching my felt for a secret plan of their own. To bail or not to bail? That's the question.
What do you think, Paddy? Still looks a bit green, but it feels pretty dry. And what I'm worried about is how long this weather's going to last.
Ideally, the golden rule is you wait till you think it's ready and then you leave it another day.
Until it rains.
Yeah. Because it's going to rain by the latest tomorrow morning, I think.
And what makes you confident about that? I mean, it looks pretty set fair to me at the moment.
Well, I've been looking at that willow tree and it's showing us the bottom of its leaves.
Ah, the willow tree.
So mark my words, it'll be raining by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Let's do it. Paddy's sorted me out with a baler that makes his tractor look positively space age. The cobweb here suggests it might not have been used for some time.
Yes.
Is this in full running order?
Well, we're soon going to find out, aren't we?
We are. The moving parts seem to be moving, and the baler starts spitting out hay. But it's not exactly bale-shaped. So Paddy tightens a few cogs, adjusts the central log mechanism, and suddenly it all starts working beautifully. Pretty soon it's time to bring out my own antique.
How many bales do you think we got then?
I think about 80, I reckon.
It's not that many, is it? It's a bale a day for 80 days.
That's enough for what you need, isn't it?
All right, let's stack. It may be a modest little hayrick by modern farming standards, but to me, it's a mountain of gold. Despite the willow forecast, it turns out fine again, which is just as well because today's the day of the big cricket match. Paddy's playing for the Melplash Marauders, and in return for his haymaking consultancy, I've offered to knock something up for tea. Luckily, my strawberries and gooseberries are just coming good. These cricketers aren't all in the first flush of youth, and I understand fitness levels are questionable, so I'm guessing they'll appreciate a blood sugar hit between the innings. What better way to deliver that than a classic pavlova?
Meringues have only 2 ingredients, egg whites and sugar, which you would have thought would make them about the simplest thing you could cook in the whole world. Well, it is pretty straightforward, but it's amazing how often they turn out slightly weepy, a bit soft, and there's one reason that this happens, and one reason only: not enough sugar.
Some recipes call for just 1 tablespoon of sugar per egg white, but I insist on 2, and it always does me proud. The meringue is divided in half and spread out on 2 lined baking trays. They'll take a good hour in a low oven. My gooseberries have been cooked, cooled, sieved and slightly sweetened. This tart puree is roughly folded into whipped cream, and the semi-fool goes in the middle of my meringue sandwich. On top goes another layer of whipped cream and a few strawberry slices.
I think at this time of year, every cricket team is entitled to expect strawberries as part of their tea, and I'm sure there'd be a rebellion if there weren't any sandwiches. But what they might not be expecting is a combination of the two. It sounds like a rather radical idea, but with a twist of black pepper and a sprinkling of sugar, they're absolutely delicious. An unusual concoction like this definitely requires a sneak preview. That is so good. It's like a summer pudding without the need for a spoon.
It's a grudge match between the Melplash Marauders and the local Gentlemen's 11 managed by the legendary Fido May. No relation. What Paddy didn't mention is that his side was a man short, so I've stepped into the breach, in return for a subtle promotion of the River Cottage glutton, of course. Fido's Flying Falcons have won the toss and are batting first. A tight contest ensues. We're getting some wickets, but they're also getting some runs. I haven't bowled my off breaks in ages. But the skipper will try anything to separate this difficult pair. My bowling turns out to be rather expensive, and after just 2 overs, I'm banished in disgrace to the boundary.
Well, that's the end of their innings. And the less said about my bowling, the better. Luckily, it's time for tea.
First things first, of course. These cricketers have their priorities. But eventually, the tea table gets a look in. Our skipper may not have been impressed by my off breaks, but he's simply bowled over by my strawberry sandwiches.
I think we should all have one of these before we go out to bat.
What do you think is the sort of correct alcohol intake for
Well,
batting?
I haven't had enough, and I've had 2.
Right.
So I think, because we are a drinking side primarily, keep drinking like that, Joe, you could be opening.
Delicious. I want a bit of that gatto thing. What is that? That's a strawberry meringue.
Pavlova, yeah.
Pavlova.
Strawberries on the top, gooseberries in the middle.
I say, my little lot didn't do badly.
They did well.
Now we're waiting for you to kick a couple of sixes.
Quite a lot of those runs came off my bowling, I have to say.
I did notice that.
Messrs Cadwell and David open for Melplash and strike up an excellent partnership.
Come on.
Some controversial umpiring decisions start a collapse, and even Paddy's stylish stroke play fails to keep up the run rate. So it's down to the catering department to save the day. My chance for heroics is also a chance to sport the first fashion item in my designer feltware collection. How can I fail?
Yes, come on.
And I'm nicely off the mark, but we'll need more than quick singles to win this one. It's time to hit up.
Yes! Great shot. It's up to you, your shout. Wait. Yes! No. Go on, go on.
It's another harsh decision. The weather's breaking, but sadly not in time to stop play.
And that beautifully timed square cut through the offside brings up the 100 for Hugh Fernley Whittingstall. A remarkable innings by the young man from Dorset.